We should be live, everybody. This is going to be a big show, a special show, a unique show. It's DCA with 4. I don't think we've done this with 4 before. We always have our CTO Larson. We have Rect Mando from Mando. And we have Marty Party for the first time ever. Marty Party and I, we're like connected at the hip on Twitter, X, and we follow each other, repost each other. We have a lot of fun. We're very aligned. And we have different places all over the world represented, from South Africa, Sweden, Team UK / continental Europe, all over the place. And we have a lot of crazy market action happening live. This is fun. So let's jump in. We have an agenda item, about 13 different things to get through. We're streaming all on our separate channels. Links are below, and mine if you're here. You want to follow Mando live on Twitter or CTO in his channel, go ahead and do that. So let's jump in. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. First of all, let me pull up some slides. Well, first of all, let's talk about the market. Right now, Bitcoin is dumping as we speak, as you guys probably see. Marty, what do you think? Actually, you're first in here. What tell us about the German Saga and the Bitcoin dump and how you're trading it right now?
I mean, if you guys know me, you know that I don't really buy into the whole buying and selling, moving the price of Bitcoin rubbish. I've been a derivatives trader for a long time now in crypto, and I was involved in writing exchanges originally coming into crypto. So I know that it's controlled by market makers to manipulate markets for gamblers, for futures markets to make profit. And they'll sell positions and then they'll come and get them. And, they'll wait a little bit of time to develop more positions. And they know how to use, engineering to make traders trade and get FOMO, and they use news. I knew they were going to use this new German news. The minute it popped up, 3,500 sent to market maker, I was like, okay, they're going to use it. They're going to use this as the Germans.
Yeah.
And there you go. You wait for that, you grab the bottom. But the liquidation levels tell you everything. And I post those every day. If you guys look on my Twitter, all the time.
I saw a key level yesterday. I said, somebody asked me, how low will we go? I said about 54,100 approximately. Does that jive with your liquidation levels?
Yep, we're the same. 54,800 was the key level to flush everybody. Max pain.
54.1 was kind of the bottom, I said.
Yeah, you called a little lower, which is actually, you nailed it. You nailed it.
Well, we just hit 54.3. So this is interesting. We have a lot of stuff to get through. Let's go through the agenda, and then we'll bring in breaking news and all of this, because everything is interconnected in this whole space. And that's really what people need to know about. First of all, let's talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is at fair value according to the look into Bitcoin. A lot of people are talking about this. You got a lot of confluence across 200-day moving averages. Short-term holder cost basis is a little higher, around 63K right now. What is your take on fair value? Let's start with Mando first, and then CTO after. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think Bitcoin looks a good spot to buy, but I guess I've been saying that for a little bit longer. I think it's been a very frustrating market just because macro has been hitting all-time highs, and a lot of the things around macro point to the idea that crypto should be heading higher, whether it's more accommodative monetary policy, money printing, stocks all hitting all-time high, gold hitting all-time highs. Everything has been pointing to that, and crypto's been caught in this supply coming from Germany and Mt. Gox and the US government, which has meant we've underperformed. I think this is a really great spot, particularly for sentiment and sentiment indicators. We hit fear on the fear and greed index. We're at the lowest sentiment, I think, since January 2023. And that was when crypto was hanging out, Bitcoin was hanging out low 20s. We're now at 56, and with all this positive news, it just feels like everyone's getting over their skis, getting super bearish, and this feels like a really good time to buy for me. So on top of that, you have things like, obviously, the miners are kind of at cost at this sort of level. We've gone close to the realized price for Bitcoin holders. All of this just feels like a good spot to buy, and it kind of ignore the noise. That being said, I would have said that probably 5 to 10K ago. So this feels like a short-term overhang of supply that we're going to have to get through. But yeah, I like Bitcoin at this level.
Exactly. And speaking of the overhang of supply, we have the Mt. Gox headwind. We have Germany dumping maybe manipulating the market. We'll tuck into that in a second. CTO, your quick point of view on Bitcoin price, fair value.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So if I can share the screen, if you can show the screen.
Yep.
So I don't bother myself so much what I think it should be priced at. I tried more to analyze what people are doing. So what happened here was that about a week ago, the trend indicator of my choice, I'm not saying it's the only one, it's just the one that I'm using, it kind of turned down. I was still hopeful at that point. I felt that if this support holds at 60,800, it doesn't mean anything. It just means that price is ranging here in this range. But then that support broke with the trend down. Then I felt a little bit of a yikes moment here on Thursday early morning or Wednesday late night. And then price dumped down here to a low of 53,500. I took a bet that it would go down here to this price level. You know, there was a lot of action there. And there was a volume node at 51,800. It didn't really. It turned before that, perhaps front run a bit. But yeah, it kind of felt already on Friday that probably this was it. We got this deep week, which then price reverted. But then we got another week today in both directions. So the market is kind of hesitating here a little bit today. Are we going up or are we going down? Or what are we doing exactly? But that would still be my bet that it was this front run little bit. But I am more cautious here. Definitely support broke, trend turned down. I want to see some confirmation that we don't get more of these weeks down and then turning back up. Cool. But that doesn't mean I'm not shorting or anything. Definitely not. I'm just a little bit more cautious than last week.
So Marty, for you, 2 quick questions. One, you just bought the dip. Second,
I bought the dip beautifully. I follow the Wyckoff. Yeah, I think this is absolutely the ultimate buy zone. For this Wyckoff. I mean, we all know that it's an accumulation distribution market-made market. So we're going through an accumulation phase. Whales have been buying the dip. They brought it down to a position of weakness. On the Wyckoff, this is now entering phase B. So this is the spring for this phase B, which will lead. I mean, I agree. We agree almost exactly. I think through the election, we'll see phase B. And then there will be, the third head, which will be the next top of Bitcoin, which I think it'll be around 120. And that's where your sell moment will be. So I play the Wyckoffs. And then you go into the next big, large macro accumulation.
That's interesting.
I think so too. I mean, it can absolutely be around the price a little bit below the previous low and then back up again. Then you maximize the tricking, so to say. And it can absolutely be. And
but it's pretty clear when 3,500 Bitcoin get dumped on the market, that takes the price down.
I think that's the bottom. To me, that was the bottom. That was the bottom. I think that they're going to use that as the bottom. This big Tesla pattern we just saw this morning now, when they dive low and it comes up really fast, the purpose of that is the exchange is moving fast back up to mitigate as many longs from entering as possible. So they're creating a gap. And that's usually the signal of the bottom.
Yeah. Mando, Germany had 52,000 Bitcoin, if I recollect. Currently, they got 35,400 left. That's so right. Let's call it 1/3 the way through their dumping. How long do you think this could last?
Well, I think the good thing about this is as they approach maybe 50% done, 60% done, you'll really start to rally. That's what I think you'll see. People always are waiting for them to actually get through it all. And what will actually happen is we'll rip when they're like 60, 70% done. So I actually kind of think we're over 50% done from where we will rally, basically is what I'm trying to say here. That's just generally what you see when you see a technical sell-off where somebody's come in and dumping Bitcoin like you've seen today. This is what I as a trader throughout my whole career, you look at fundamental trades, you look at technical trades. A fundamental trade is something where you look at the drivers of the price, of which right now, Bitcoin looks like a screaming fundamental long. And you spend your whole career as a sell-side market maker looking for trades where the fundamentals look good and you have this technical pressure of why there's been a sell-off. This is a prime example of that. You have a short-term reason why we're going lower because you have supply coming to the market, and yet the fundamentals behind the trade look really, really strong. So this is just a great trade for me. Like this, throughout my career, I would look for trades exactly like this. Big fund comes in to sell on a good position. You're waiting for them to come out, and then as soon as you get towards the end of that, it starts to absolutely rip.
And then we do have too many tailwinds. And if anyone wants to jump in on this one, we have FTX, refunding people 120% of what they had. Many people believe, like Mando, you believed last week, that this would go back into the market, which would offset Mt. Gox. Also, we've got Mt. Gox distributing Bitcoin Cash. I think there'll only be about 7,000 Bitcoin going out before the end of the year, which is not a lot, considering we just had 3,500 hit the market from Germany. My calculations about 7,500 from Gox. What do you guys think of that? And the other factor that anybody getting the airdrop of Bitcoin Cash back, they're going to sell that directly and go back into the hard asset Bitcoin as another tailwind. Any thoughts?
I think what Marty said before we went live, I thought was very interesting. Is like the market makers know this. It's been well telegraphed that this sort of supply is going to come. So they will use these headlines as much as they can as they hit. And then you kind of look for the response just afterwards. So it feels as though we could have more of these sort of wicks lower on the headline, and then you'll look to see the rebound afterwards. So for me, the second half of this year, all I can see is more inflows into the Bitcoin ETF, more inflows into the ETH ETF, and 16 billion coming back to FTX investors. That seems like a very good spot to be in.
Marty, you're famous.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, on the macro level, I mean, I look at the 800 EMA. It's always somebody, Benjamin Cowan once said the 800 EMA is the cycle bull market support band, right? So if you're above the 800, you're in a bullish market. If you're below the 800, you're either testing a bear market or you're entering a bear market. And we're on the 800. We have been now for a while. The 54,800 is literally the test of the 800. So I buy on this test. This is when I buy. I'm a technical trader.
This is exactly the purple line you're looking at here on the chart that we kicked off with.
I'm a technical trader, guys. I don't look at headlines.
Yeah, let's talk about seasonality for a second. We've got a lot of stuff to get through. Somehow this chart got screwed up. I don't know why the stuff moved. Anyway, the point is that red box of circling is supposed to be focused on the average returns for October, November, and December, monthly returns for Bitcoin. Obviously, we are down 7-8% so far in the month of July. The question I always ask myself is, this time has been different in so many ways, hitting a new all-time high before the halving, et cetera, et cetera. If you look at typical bull runs highlighted with the green on the left, we're different than the past. So, for example, April is normally the second strongest month ever for Bitcoin. We were down 14% this bull run. And it's even more extreme when you take into account historical Aprils in bull runs. But we have a lot of tailwinds coming our way with presidential election, liquidity, stock market data typically does really well in the latter half of the year, especially in an election year. How do you guys like the topic today is bull run delayed? How delayed do you see this happening, and do you expect a really good Q4? And I know it's painful for people to think, oh, I got to wait another 10 weeks to get to Q4, but that could just be the reality.
Maybe I can start and add one thing, because there are many good technical processes, and I have a reactive model. So I react to what actually happens, and I have a trend-based model. So price is not going to go to 110,000 with a trend down. That can't happen. So the trend either has to turn up at some point, or we're not going there. So that's how I see it. I want to see some evidence that the trend is turning around, and then my objective is to catch the midsection of that move. I'm not trying to catch the bottom. I'm not trying to sell the top. I'm trying to catch a good part of the midsection, fat midsection. That works pretty well in technology in general and crypto, because the midsection tends to be pretty big. But that also means that I'm not going to buy the exact bottom. That's different. If you're trying to open a big leverage long, say 20x long or something, I don't know if I can see myself here behind the comment. If you're trying to open a big leverage long, you cannot do like that, because you have to kind of catch the bottom exactly. You have to catch the bottom of the wick exactly to open a big leverage long. So that is not my objective. I'm trying to catch the middle of the move and then rather do it with a bigger position. So just to say that I don't think I disagree with what Marty said or what Mandy said. It's just different strategies. So I don't really care what I think will happen in August or September. I want to see it actually happening, and then I will act accordingly. So I don't know. I don't know if the seasonality, like month by month, is reliable enough. I don't really use it.
But sometimes, and I'll counterpoint you on that, and I'd like feedback from Mando and Marty on this one. Sometimes if you wait for confirmation, it's too late. For example, Tesla shot up 40% in like 5 days. And that was just a very big move fueled by gamma squeezes, short squeezes, and some crazy good news all happening at the same time. How would you respond to that, CTO? And then Marty and Mando, how do you, like, Marty just picked up a leverage long on Bitcoin right now.
Guys, to me, Tesla was exactly what I'm talking about. Tesla is controlled by market makers. There were longs, there were options placed down low there, and they came to get them. That's all they're doing. Crypto, every market, that's how it's made. It's made by market makers. And what you've got to learn is to find the indicators that show you their levels, what they're looking for. Because the price ultimately will go there. They'll take their time, because the longer they wait and go flat, the more people, sentiment, narrative, people long, people short. There's open interest bills. The money comes in, the liquidity comes in, they come and grab it, and they make tremendous profit. The good news is, you know what they do with the profit, guys? They buy assets. So it's not a bad thing. This is how markets grow. Okay, that's why futures markets are so important to commodities and asset markets, because they promote growth. As long as they have good intention, obviously, and you've got to weed out bad intention. This German thing, guys, I don't know whether this is something that anyone knew was coming. I don't know if it's called a black swan, a white swan. They have 50,000 they got in 2014. But to me, it's a good trade. Look, I'm a technical trader. These guys got 50,000 Bitcoin in 2014. Selling now, pretty good trade. If they're selling. Now, they're going to sell it all? We don't know. Why would they sell it all? Doesn't make any sense. They need dollars, maybe for their debt. Maybe they're broke. Maybe Germany's insolvent. And Bitcoin, like its use case, is being used to get real hard money when they need it. And that is a good model for Bitcoin.
That's a good point, actually, to reinvest, because if you look at German industrial production, it's going down like,
yes, sir.
like Bitcoin is really bad. Mando, well, there was a couple of interesting points mentioned there by Marty and CTO. One of them is futures options. I watch options traders and their levels, and I've been blown away over the last 18 months how good the Bybit options traders were 80% of the time projecting where Bitcoin would be at certain times. What are your indicators for where the market's going, and what does it tell you right now?
Yeah, I'm far more of a user of those sort of things. So liquidation levels and option skews is something that I look at a lot more than charts, just because I think that's where I guess that's a form of liquidity analysis, which is where I'll look at. In terms of waiting to see confirmation from the market, I do think that model can work. You obviously give up part of the move when you do that, and I think the main thing is you have to be very, very quick to react in this market, because sometimes, I even said with Tesla, the gains in crypto, they can often happen over like 2 weeks, and then it's just pain for the rest of the time. We just go between a range. That's generally what I've always seen in crypto. Like you go up the elevator and then hack around on the stairs up and down for the next like 6 months, and then you go up the elevator and it repeats. So yeah, I would like to hear from CTO, like how quick you have to react in that market, because I do think that would be the main thing for me, is just that when you get a break through those levels, they can obviously be very violent. So you have to be very quick to react to them. I don't know if there was a second point there, but yeah, that's generally what I would look at, and sentiment analysis. So things like where do we see them in terms of overextended or underextended when it comes to sentiment. And for me, this looks like a good trade there as well. So if you're telling me that the Wyckoff levels look good and it's already matching up with the things that I'm looking at, then yeah, it looks like a good trade to me.
Okay, let's move. We've got a lot of agenda items to get through. This is one thing you sent me, Mando, this morning. We have a different
answer the question on Tesla.
I would like to hear.
So I think we talked about it. I think it was three episodes ago. Could be wrong, but I think it was in mid-June, where we talked about the different stocks, and we all agreed. Actually, I said it also, that out of the major tech stocks like Apple, Amazon, Google, Nvidia, Microsoft, and so on, they had all run already. Like the correct entry was like way back. There was only one stock that had backed up to support, and that was Tesla. And I said, I think it's a good opportunity here. So can go back and check. So definitely. And how fast you have to react, of course, it's different in crypto and stocks. I mean, tech stocks move much slower generally, even though, it feels fast, but it's different than crypto. I actually studied it because the charts, type of chart, like how they look, are identical between tech stocks and cryptos. They're just on different time frames, and it's almost a factor 10 different. So like the booms and busts of crypto, it's about 10 times faster in time frames than the tech stocks. So of course, you have to react on the day. I use mostly daily candles for crypto. So that means that I will miss the weeks. But it also means that you get faked out less. So that's the trade-off.
Yeah. It's interesting. I spend a lot of time looking at the 5-minute chart. So that's how I identify bottom as a big difference. And what's really good about this combination of styles is for the audience. I always urge people to find their own rhythm. Find what you like, find what works for you. There's some people, used to scalp at 15-second charts, which would break my head. Well, let's go through this. I want to add this piece because Mando, you shared this with me from Santiago this morning. Timing crypto markets in the near term is tricky. And we're going through a very difficult patch right now, especially equities are ripping, rates are high, but crypto's chopping and people are getting frustrated. That's why I kind of play both sides of the fence. Mando, what did you interpret from this? Muted, I think.
I think this is a really good quote for anyone in crypto right now who's a little bit frustrated, is that if you're a fundamental trader and you're looking at all the things driving global liquidity, this seems like what the hell's going on in crypto, and it's been very frustrating. I think one thing that has become clearer during this period is what the winners are potentially going to be. So what I would say is use this as a form of information gathering for refining your portfolio. I think good trades, even better fundamental trades. Solana hit its all-time high for monthly revenue last month and is down 40%. That seems like a decent position to be looking at. Similarly, things like Bitcoin, when you see a short-term sell-off because of this sort of supply versus the long-term implications of an ETF putting in 10 to 20 billion a year, let's say, that seems like an obvious long-term trade to get involved in. So I think use this as a form to refine the positions that you're in, and use that as the one silver lining for this, which has been a frustrating period, I think, for a lot of people.
I really like that, actually, take this as a time, using different words, to reallocate. It's an opportunity to reset your allocations. Marty, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the way I'm playing the game obviously is different to a lot of other people, depending on your time horizon, right? I'm 54, so my time horizon is what, I want to enjoy my life. I don't take it if I die with me. So, I'm looking at the giant liquidity oscillation, which has been going on now for the last 80 years. And it's saying we're due for a large liquidity injection. Now, 2008, we know we broke the world with the mortgage-backed securities. They printed $9 trillion since then. And we're just going up to 120% GDP. So I believe that there only are two options, and it's going to be either print or austerity measures, which don't win elections in the US. So they're going to print money. Now, this is the banana zone theory, Raul, we agree. I think that the timing is when they're going to print, what's going to trigger the print, how much they're going to print, and how are they going to debase. They came off gold once. They used gold. They can't use gold again. You know, they did war. Maybe they're going to try war. They need an event. I have a thesis that they're going to use stablecoin. Okay? And that's why crypto regulation flipped 180 degrees. So when it comes to printing money, we all know when you get money, well, what are you going to do with it? I think the demographics have shifted. The average age of the American is 38. They're younger. They're probably not going to allocate everything to gold. They're not going to allocate everything to, you know, Oscar Mayer and DuPont stock. They're probably going to put it into fucking crypto. Let's be serious. So the proportions of allocation are going up in crypto's favor. That's all I look at, because when the liquidity comes, all assets will rise. Which assets will rise the most? Probably all of cryptos, all of the mid to large cap cryptos will rise. What you want to do is be in the one that rises the most, and don't be stuck in the one that doesn't rise. That's the one you don't want to be in. Be in the one that rises.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to position myself in stability, because I'm quite a conservative trader. I like stability. I sleep well at night. I work hard for
25x on Bitcoin right now. That's stability.
I'm 40% in Bitcoin, right? I'm 40% in Solana, and I'm 20% in my trading account, which at any time I have a lot of SUI and other things going on. But I believe that you need to be realistic and understand that the liquidity cycle says very clearly that in 2020, late 2025, 2026 will be that sort of midpoint opportunity to get out at the top. And if you're an older person and you just want to enjoy your life for 10 to 15 years now with your money and not die with a lot of crypto in your wallet, you might want to take profits there. And my schedule, if I look at my chart, I've been tracking now, looking around between April and September next year will be the beginning of that stage, leading to probably the top, which is very hard to pick, of Wyckoff. It can get laddering on the long side and squeeze. It's called a squeeze, right? Bitcoin could have the squeeze of history right now. It's so shorted. Like literally between carry trading on the ETFs now, where they've loaded the CME with puts, and the world crypto market, which has $25 billion of shorts on it right now, just absolutely printing money. I think we could see a shot to the moon. Now, it'll probably come back down, retest 100,000 from the top, but it's all about the liquidity timing. Up until then, don't get shaken out. That's the game.
And you said something very interesting. You said something interesting. You're 40% Bitcoin, 40% Solana, and 20% speculation, which it's kind of like me. I'm 80% hodl bags, 20% speculation bags. How, CTO and Mando, how do you view the 80-20 that somehow Marty Party and I do, which is amazing? I've always done that. So that means you can play with 20% of your bag high risk, willing to lose it all, go to zero, but you have your 80% in solid assets that you know will go up over time. CTO, do you have
You can always trade back. You can always trade back in our model.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, CTO, do you have an 80-20?
I mean, I have the trend-based model. So because Bitcoin, through all the previous cycles, it has backed up between 80 and 85%. And I'm not interested in holding through those retracements. I feel that doesn't make any sense. So I'm okay to not catch the bottom and catch 100% of the move up, if that also means that I can sidestep most of the corrections down. I'm talking about the big cyclic corrections here now, not the micro moves or like the 1 week here, 1 week there. I'm talking about when price backs up 85% over a period of a year or something like that. So that's why I'm on this slightly longer time frames. Historically, that has worked very well. And I agree with Marty. I think that we're going to have that kind of cycle behavior. I don't think it's going to change. I don't see any reason why it would change. So I think so too. It's going to continue a big cycle, and there's going to be some huge faking, trick everyone. Wyckoff wrote the book on how to do it in the optimal way to trick as many people as possible. You know, it's going to go up and then it's going to break out, and it seems like it's continuing, but actually it's dumping down and tricking everyone, something like that at the end. And then probably a long period of retracement again. Bitcoin is dead. Crypto was a scam. Everyone's an idiot to talk about it. And then when everyone's logged out and given up, it starts going up again. I think it will continue. That's my base assumption. And I agree 100%.
Good. Mando, you have hodl bags and speculation bags?
Yeah, I've already told you that the majority of my portfolio is in JLP, which is mainly Solana. And then I have a portion for memes, essentially, or high beta assets, which have been memes this cycle. Last cycle, I had a lot on NFTs as well, which is basically how I run it. I do think part of the issue about crypto discourse is, 55% of the market is Bitcoin, 17% is ETH, 3% is Solana, 10% is stables. That means 85% of the market is Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, or stables. And yet we spend most of our time, or at least a lot of people in crypto spend most of their time focusing on that other 15%. And they were like, "Oh, my altcoin bag isn't higher. Crypto's a scam." Well, actually, it isn't. You can be really bullish on all the fundamentals behind crypto. I'm bullish on Bitcoin. I'm bullish on Solana. I think stablecoin market cap's going up. I've said ETH I'm a bit more mixed on, but I can be bullish on it into the ETF. I think you can be bullish on 85% of crypto very, very easily and still think that your altcoins cannot perform well. So I think you got to think about that when you're also constructing a portfolio.
Good. Speaking of constructing, Samani, there is a $300 billion mispricing between ETH and Sol. Mando, you're versed with this, and I think you know Samani, if I'm not mistaken. But looking at some fundamentals here, the market cap of Solana right now is 17% of ETH. But when you compare any metric, it does many multiples more, whatever you're talking about. And that is startling out there. Tell us a little bit about that mispricing.
Yeah, well, you saw, like I said, Solana hit its monthly high, all-time high for economic value. So this is fees plus MEV. It hit 90 million, which is a run rate of just over $1 billion, right? This would be the revenue essentially of Solana. And it's sitting at, what is the market cap of Solana right now? Probably between 60 and 70 billion, right?
Yeah.
66.
Right. So it's sitting there at basically a 60 PE ratio there. ETH made 1.6 billion, which is only about 60% higher than Solana, and yet the price of ETH is about, oh God.
Sorry about this. I'll mute him. There you go.
All right. So yeah, basically ETH is making only 60% more fees than Solana, but is priced around 5 to 6 times higher than Solana. So look, I gave ETH the benefit of the doubt going into this ETF. It feels as though the market's fallen out of love with it. It does feel like the tailwinds behind Solana are just incredibly strong. They actually put out the bug bounty, a $1 million bug bounty for FireDancer today, or I think it was yesterday. Which that means that we could be very, very close to FireDancer. There's speculation that that could come at breakpoint. If not, who knows? But yeah, the themes behind Solana just get stronger and stronger each week in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean the numbers here just pop out a couple of metrics. Solana does 4,250% more daily transactions. It has 300% more daily active users. The daily active users are 1,027% more active, i.e. the average user does 30 transactions a day, which is crazy. And the fees are insane. Like the fees beat ETH yesterday. 1.3 million versus 1.1 for Ethereum, which is kind of staggering. And even more staggering, one of the quick slide to show is this is the share of daily transactions just over the past couple of months. Obviously, it's all green, and the rest is all the other chains. So it's what I call the black hole. The winner takes most. Marty, I know you just mentioned your 40% Solana. Tell us about what you think of all of this data. And is there a mispricing between ETH and Solana right now? Oh, you're muted. Hold on. I'm trying to unmute you.
I'm a technology investor like you. So, I analyze technology. I was in technology my whole career. I'm a computer scientist. And we knew blockchain was coming, and we knew someone would nail it. And, you know, when it was coming along, I knew Bitcoin was store of value, 100%, like a bank vault. And Ethereum came in. I learned Solidity, you know, Ganache, Truffle, and I was like, this is not it. Technically, it's not it. This is the academic precursor to it. What'll be it? And then when I saw Solana come out, the minute I got on the website, I was like, this is it. It's just it's open source software. It's the next Linux. So it's just an operating system on top of which billions and billions of small businesses will be created, and economies, and every corporation will run their books. It's just and every market will run. It's just an infrastructure. You know, people get stuck in the weeds and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's just code. It's
and
just,
Marty, you said one thing in a tweet yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. You talked. So I always believe that, you know, crypto is about key use cases, and one of the top use cases for crypto is payments. Tell us what you said about payments yesterday.
Well, I mean, you know, I'm a big believer in you know, the milkshake theory. I believe that there's going to be a stable coin explosion like you've never seen before. I'm talking $30 trillion to $100 trillion. Companies like Visa, they're not messing around. And they've picked Solana. Solana, USDC, Circle, that is happening. It's not weather. It's already happening. So they're going to inject this huge amount of debt as stablecoin. US Treasuries, they're going to print just a ridiculous amount of US Treasuries. They're probably going to make, you know, now they have a $10,000 Treasury. They're going to make a $100,000 Treasury. They're probably going to make $1 million Treasury. And they'll just say, well, pump it into the world's economy as stablecoins. And the regulations have been rushed through. It's clear it's happening. It's just a matter of when the Senator Gilbreth, S610, 611, whatever.
So you're talking a mini digital dollar on...
The second the digital dollar even gets voted on once, I believe we're going to see all the networks that carry stable coins at high speed, efficiently, will be marked up fundamentally based on volume metrics rather than the traditional TVL, which is just, we all know, it's got 400 billion sitting there doing nothing. It's just a store of value. Call it a store of value. That's fine. It's not an execution.
Oh, I love you saying that.
Yeah, I think that's fine. They should flip back. They should go, we're a store of value. We're silver.
Okay, CTO.
Anyone who says that crypto is a scam, it's pointless. They are people who have never tried selling anything on the internet. Anyone who goes online and, you know, try to sell something, I don't know, hats or a course or whatever it is, only then you will discover how bad and expensive all the traditional payment solutions are. They're much more expensive than people realize. The only fast, efficient, scam-free, cheap payment system that exists on the internet is cryptocurrencies. That's the only thing that exists. You know, PayPal was revolutionary when Elon Musk was there 25 years ago. Then the webpage today still looks the same. It says like, you know, CGI bin. Marty, you will remember CGI bin in the URL. That's when there was only one type of scripts. It still says the same. Then Stripe came, you know, they do it a little bit better, cut the costs, make it a little bit cheaper, but it's still horribly expensive. It's only cryptocurrencies that are free from scams. You don't, like, you know, you ship out the shoes or whatever you're selling, and then turns out that that was a stolen credit card. So they take back the money, but you've already shipped the shoes. That doesn't exist with cryptocurrencies. It is instant, it is nearly free to send, and it is fantastic. And anyone who says they don't understand what's the point with crypto don't understand what they're talking about. Of course, there is a use case for global money on the internet. The whole world is digital. We're you know, living on the internet almost. Of course, there's a point for the best payment solution on the internet, and that is crypto. Nothing else exists.
Good stuff. When Marty was talking and he mentioned the size of the stablecoin market, your jaw fell a little bit. You want to talk about that?
No, I think that could be very easily true. I don't think that it may be Tether or Circle that you've already seen what happened with Mika. All these governments going to try and get involved in their own stablecoins, and it'll probably be with government aligned institutions as much as possible. But as we're basically just saying that there is a reason for digital money, which is just so obvious. The idea that you would put these sort of transactions on the blockchain makes sense, or these sort of assets on the blockchain. So I think we'll see huge stable coins. There's no doubt about it. Where they come from, I'm not too sure, but I do think we could easily surpass trillions in the coming years.
Beautiful. Topic number 10.
I personally think that there were two major obstacles, and that was the EU regulation of stablecoin, because you understand that in the EU they've always and have written in the law you require bank money as collateral. US treasuries don't cut it. So they basically, the EU said US treasuries are not good enough, and the US said US treasuries 100%. So you've got these two differences of opinion. One doesn't trust US debt, one issues US debt, and stablecoin is kind of, it's happening to, it's going to solve that problem. So at the end of the day, I think you just got to look at the networks that are going to move. You know, I don't really care about what assets are being moved: Bitcoin, Ethereum, ERCs, meme coins, stable coins. I look at the underlying network, which is the network that is moving the value, and that's what I invest in, as much as I can.
And Marty, I'm glad you led it directly into our point number 10 of our agenda today, which we're pumping through, is adoption. Adoption. This next couple of topics we'll talk about adoption, why it's so key. One of the key factors I look at is follow the developers, follow the money, follow the adoption, etc. It's real simple. It's not difficult. Matic founder, does he move on? Sentient Labs raises 85 million in seed funding. Again, Mando is another story that you are on top of. Thoughts on this one? What does this mean for Matic now it's fallen out of the top 20?
So this was an interesting one. One of the main Matic co-founder has basically started his own AI company. They're making public AI models. He says he's going to be building on a Matic, but you're not really too sure. But yeah, they've raised 85 million from Peter Thiel, amongst other investors. But this is at the same time that Matic just fell out of the top 20. Now, all L2s have really suffered this cycle, but I just thought this was interesting. Like a big infrastructure builder has done a very high profile raise. He's basically saying he can manage both of them at the same time. But let's see.
I think Andreessen is on this, aren't they? Oh.
A lot of different top funds
VCs.
on it. But it's moving on to apps really from the chains. Maybe he just doesn't really see. If you read between the lines, he's doing this because he probably sees more value in the apps than he is running an L2.
Why this is so huge is because I'm only invested in two things: crypto and AI, because they're the two biggest narratives. It's not difficult. Again, break things down to simple stuff. This is the intersection of blockchain and AI. CTO, how big is this? Because now we have like Bitcoin miners pivoting to HPC. You have now chains, founders of big layer 2s like Matic pivoting to AI as well. How do you see this intersection, and is it a good thing? I think it's a great thing.
Yeah. If I can just show the chart on Matic, because I want to pick up on something that Marty said before that is so good, that you want to trade the best asset in the domain. And one way to do that is to stop looking at the USD chart, because it might go up in USD, but if it goes up less than Bitcoin does, why take the additional risk of trading an altcoin than just take BTC instead? So that's why I'm such a fan of the BTC charts. Also, sometimes you see the support and resistance clearer there, because many people have the same opinion as I. So they look on the BTC chart and they trade between Bitcoin and the altcoin, not to US dollar. So if you look at Matic, it's really a classic example of that. And I'm sure a lot of people have held this all the way down here. And that's not a happy ride. That's minus 85% with a trend down versus BTC. And I don't care if it goes up or down versus US dollar. Why would you do that? So Matic has been really, really challenged here. And as anyone can see here in this chart, there's no way of knowing where this is stopping. This hasn't bottomed in any way. This doesn't look great. This looks garbage still.
But this goes back to the whole thing of ETH and layer 2s. I mean, Marty, from a technologist perspective, you and CTO are technologists. Tell me about, I've always said, I maintain this from day one almost, layer 2s are band-aids on the layer 1. And things are getting more and more extreme. Do you see any future for layer 2s? or do you just pivot to the best layer one?
I mean, you know, I've been very vocal about my theories on layer twos. I see them as the biggest risk in crypto, the biggest, because it just takes one layer two multi-sig wallet to get compromised in any way, even a hint of it, and you've got billions of dollars at risk that's going to get dumped, and it's Ethereum. So we all saw what happened when Ethereum gets dumped. The whole market goes down. Ethereum has 18% dominance. So I'm not worried about Bitcoin. I think all of the black swans of Bitcoin have passed. It's been accepted. It's just about to get written into US law. I think it is in US law. It's now going to be formalized as stablecoin, legal tender. Crypto is going to be adopted. My concern is bad actors, and I feel like there's too many layer twos. The people are, I don't know. They're on, like you just showed that chart. They're almost at that point of desperation in the evaluation against Bitcoin. And I think you're going to see a lot of them pivot. But the point is that you have to understand from a technology point of view, what is a layer two? It's a brilliant thing. But it's not a blockchain, really. It's a decentralized sequencer. Can you imagine a line at the nightclub, right? There's a bouncer, he's got a list. That's the white list of wallets. And then there's a line of people, and they can only go in one at a time. That's computing. Okay, it doesn't matter. Sequences control the universe. You're always at a line. You're in a queue. Now, will you get in at the door? That's one problem. And will other people pay more money to get ahead of you? And that's MEV and the old other problem. So you got to understand, layer two just tries to solve that queue. So it makes a separate queue. Okay, that's fine. It's a sequencer. The problem is it doesn't have its own collateral. It's not a financial. It's not a blockchain. It's not a financial blockchain. It's a sequencer, and so it relies on a big wallet full of Ethereum to back it. You say, what backs the dollar? What backs gold? Layer twos are backed by Ethereum. It's great for Ethereum. You go, wow, but the mechanism of that backing is not permissionless. It's permissioned. Humans control it. If those humans get desperate or need money, they can tap in at any time. I don't like it. I wear the shirt. I'm a permissionless guy. If we're not permissionless, what are we doing here?
Good point.
What's the difference?
Let's
right?
talk about
then we're going CBDC with the best technology. Fine. Then go that way.
Let's
permissionless or nothing. I live and die with it.
Let's go back.
I feel like layer twos are permissioned. Now, guys, there are projects working on open source permissionless layer twos, but you don't hear about Metis, Zeus network, different networks. They're working on it. When they can get to that point, and these other layer twos can evolve, maybe fork or whatever they got to do to give up control of that multi-sig backing, and go permissionless with a peg, one-to-one peg, with permissionless pegging. I'm all. You see, I'm a technologist. If it works, I'm in.
Let's talk
about
right
now, it's risky in crypto, and I don't invest in it. Go ahead.
All right, Marty. I like your analogy of the sequencer and the line at the club. A lot of people want to build a line at a club. We saw, Matic doesn't actually have a big adoption problem. They still have adoption, which is very interesting. But there's other chains, again, and Mandy, you're on top of this, that have problems with adoption, and they're paying influencers a lot of money. And I won't read out this list, but you'll see it for yourselves. And I don't know if this is true
I'm just so glad I'm not on that list.
Yeah, but
Mando, actually, I want to say one thing. Because I don't like if someone says something about me and I don't have a chance to respond. So I want to say, because I'm streaming on my channel also, I don't know if this is correct. I haven't seen this, and I don't want to attack any specific influencer without them.
Oh no, this is not about the people on the list. And again, we don't know if it's true. But Mando, you mentioned it, the Polkadot KOL marketing. It's getting a lot of heat. There's different companies out there. One of them is called Lunar Strategy. It's on their website. You can go see it. Somebody shared an invoice, but maybe you know more about this. And to tell us about this story.
Well, there's two ways to look at this. Dot obviously pays for marketing. Actually, Polkadot set up as a DAO, so this was all publicly available. They actually put out a drive with all of this marketing, and that's when it kind of blew up, because a bunch of people accessed the drive and saw they were spending all this money on marketing. One way is to be like, well, dot performance, I don't know if you bring up the chart, but it hasn't been very good. So where has all that money been going? The second thing is, this is what crypto is. And in fact, the companies that aren't set up as DAOs and aren't transparent, I would say are in some ways even worse. So you would be surprised at how much of crypto marketing budgets for chains actually is spent on influencers. Even Solana back in the day, right? Solana paid for a lot of influencers back in the day too. Every single chain on the come up has paid for influencers at some stage. I think what this did is just bring some of that to the forefront. And obviously a lot of dot holders are annoyed because the actual burn is something like they'll be out of money in 2 years. Like, they haven't got a lot of runway with the current burn they have for marketing spending, amongst other things. So that's why I got a lot of headlines, is that it's getting close to them running out of cash, essentially, at one of the foundations. But that being said, I think this is what's happening in every single chain out there. All the L2s, right? We just spoke about Matic. Matic have one of the biggest B&D departments out of any blockchain. They
$300 million. Yeah.
They spent unbelievable amounts of money, and I bet we never really got to see how much they spent to get all these different people onto the chain. It's been the same with pretty much every single L2 out there, along with many of the other L1s, except you don't see the figures. You just hear about the partnership. Oh, Nike does a partnership on this chain. All of these big brands that are doing deals with L2s or your L1, they're being paid. And so if you're not seeing stuff like this, just know it's happening anyway.
You did mention something that Solana paid influencers. Because I've been in touch with, back and forth, but they said they don't do that.
Yeah, so this is back in the day. And actually, Ansem on the timeline came out and said the same. He said that no, they never paid anyone. And then there was a bunch of videos actually released this week showing some of the original Solana influencers that were paid. It was people like Marin, if you remember, who did like the astrology sort of stuff. It didn't go very well, and it didn't last that long. All chains pay for marketing. This is the way it is. And the way that crypto is set up is via KOLs and influencers. So a lot of it gets spent in terrible ways.
Well, it's good for the audience to know. That's why, thank you, Manda, for sharing that story. Let's get to an even bigger story, $1 billion in unlocks. I've been talking about unlocks for years. It's so important to know when it's going to rain down tokens. 1 billion over the next 30 days. And the last month, I think, was another $500 million. And all the names here, you got a lot of layer 2s. You got the money grab gaming plays. You got a couple of DEXs, DEX aggregators. CTO, do you look at token unlocks at all, or is this concerning when there's just crazy inflation? I saw somebody as well likes XRP in the comments. It's like, please study the inflation of XRP over the last 8 years. Do yourself a favor. And maybe you could pull up an XRP chart or a dot chart, CTO, as well.
Yeah, I mean, the unlocks is a huge part of if you're flooding the market with coins that people have gotten for free, or at like a minimal, like a tiny fraction of the current market value, they can sell them at anything and they still make huge money. They don't care. They will, sell them and forget about the price goes down, or that they don't care. Many of them, not all, of course, there will be different people, but unlocks, distributions, it is a gigantic part of this.
Yeah.
I mean, if the project is technically great or not, of course it could matter in the long term, but short term it doesn't matter. Well, the only thing that matters is if people are buying or selling, and if you give bunch of people a bunch of tokens, some of them are going to sell, then price will go down.
Yes, it's just price suppression. Marty, any thoughts on this real quick?
Yeah, my view on unlocks is that they've become less impactful over time as they used to be. I think, once again, mostly they're used by market makers as FUD or some form of suppression, scary vibes. But, look.
You see directly, you look at Aptos, you look at Optimism, you look at E&E, you look at any of these names that have huge unlocks, you can see it in the price. The charts just go down.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. It works wonders. People sell. They don't buy. They sit on their hands, you see. There can be good, and it goes back to fair launch and TGE. Which do you use? There's pros and cons of two ways of starting a crypto project. You can go fair launch and deal with snipers and craziness, or you can go with, set it up, TGE, tokenomics, and then unlocks. But people don't understand these unlocks are really thoughtfully done, and there's a purpose behind it. So do you want your project to succeed? Do you want the people to get paid and get rewarded? Do you want the machine to work as it was designed? Unlocks are part of it, but it keeps the suppression. If you want to buy Aptos, you're like, maybe I'll wait till after the unlock. Yeah. And so does everybody else, and it creates sort of a gigantic suppression. But what I do find is that market makers will also use it to their advantage, and you'll see some of these will have a massive spike at some point to change that narrative. I think,
or suck people.
And I think it'll be Sui. I think Sui is going to rocket ship and prove that token unlocks don't mean anything anymore. If it's a good project with a roadmap, delivering with solid performance,
no adoption,
people are love it. They want to buy it no matter what.
Mando, would you touch anything here that's raining tokens?
What's that? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, it's to Mando. Would you touch anything that's raining tokens here?
As Marty says, you often see a bullish unlock where some of these things rally. In fact, many of the gaming coins which have huge unlocks this week have actually rallied, interestingly, this week. So you sometimes see this sort of bullish unlock, and then everyone gets the FOMO to get into the prices, and they continue their dump downwards. What I would just say is this has increased. So this figure was a fraction of this a few months ago, and we're now heading towards $1 billion a month unlocks, because many of the VC coins which have come in the first half of this year or second half of last year are now starting to see some major unlocks, massive ones. This is like the cliff. You normally have a 6-month cliff for a lot of these investments. So you start to see some of the big unlocks. So $1 billion a month in altcoins, probably coming every month for the next 2 years. That is a little bit painful. And what I would agree is that what Marty said is perhaps less of a big deal. I think Solana used to have huge unlocks, right? And that largely got priced. Those have largely been done. Obviously, we still have some which are going to come from the FTX estate, which then got sold to different investors. But it's a fraction compared to what it used to be. Ethereum and Bitcoin obviously don't really have that issue. So apart from the ETH Foundation occasionally dumps. But yeah, it does feel as though this is less of an issue for that 85% that we spoke about of the market that you can feel very bullish about. But for the 15%, you've got $1 billion a month now for the foreseeable future.
Headwinds. Okay, we've got a couple of minutes left. I got 4 topics to cover. So let's do quick fire round.
Well, they're really fast.
If we can do it, quick and dirty. All right. Sam Altman and Microsoft. A lot of people have been criticizing Sam Altman for being a bit of a shady character, but apparently OpenAI was hacked a year ago, and they didn't tell anybody about it. That means user identities, etc., gone. Any thoughts on this real quick? Typical Microsoft.
That is just wild to me. I mean, they've had a series of huge PR issues, OpenAI, recently, right? This just is another one on the pile. Doesn't look good.
Messy, nasty. CTO?
Yeah, I mean, it all goes back to Web 2, and OpenAI, I believe, are still Web 2. They're still selling data. It's the duopoly. OpenAI is part of the big tech.
I think the bigger security risk here is the intentional data leak. Everything you type into ChatGPT goes, into the machine.
It's all Web 2. Yep.
Think through what you paste in there, and at least for the love of God, don't put your access keys or something in the ChatGPT, because it might pop out to some other user, like, here's an example of an access key or whatever.
It's funny. I had a brilliant idea last night. There was this a guy I work with, Sanjay, you might be watching us now. He created these AI images where they have hidden words in them. But imagine you could create like 12 pictures in your house, and you can hide images of words in those images. And you need a very keen eye to be able to see them. but it was fascinating. Imagine going and putting your seed phrase in, create me 12 images that make up these words so I can print out pictures on the wall. Anyway, separate issue.
Well, I mean, did you guys see what happened with X? So X hired an ex-Israeli, the best in the industry. There was a whole new capture as an X. I don't know if you're a content provider and an X, you get ID verified all the time, like constantly, randomly. Yeah. And there's all these new captures and all new challenges that are quite frightening, to be honest. To prove you're human is getting extremely hard. To prove you're real is becoming a challenge. And I faced it 9 times. It said I was not human. But he fired them, thank God, because they leaked driver's licenses. This is what's going on, people.
Wow.
At the end of the parabola, we'll get maximum theft of data and identity theft. We're approaching that in Web 2. Literally, we're just about to reach where your data is gone. Forget about it.
Web 2
you have to start a new data trail, and that's Web 3.
Sam Rule, this is a absolutely take it to the bank macro indicator that always works. It's just triggered a recession right now.
Wow.
This has been around for a long time. USA recession alert. We're talking about this like half the states are in recession anyway. But if the 3-month moving average of the unemployment rate rises by half a percentage point or more, it means the US in recession. And by the way, it's already here on government numbers, which are fake. They'll be revised worse in 12 weeks. So we're in a recession, which means, back to your point, Marty, money printers coming to get us
out. They're telling us they're making a recession here. This is saying, guys, prepare, we're going to make a recession.
Exactly. And then tied into this is now we have a 78% chance of a Fed rate cut in September. How do you guys feel about this? Between money printing and this?
I posted that and no one really reacted. I thought it would get way more attention. This is like huge. Just popped up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Friday, we had NFPs on Friday, which actually showed stronger labor market, but what it really showed is a slowdown in wage growth. So you had this big increase in rate cuts. One in September would be really interesting, right? It would be just before the election. It'd be very, very politically sensitive, I imagine. But yeah, look, inflation is coming down a lot in the US and the UK. I'm not a believer that we're heading for a recession, but I do think we're heading for a bailout, one way or another, of different financial institutions. And so I think money printer is going to come on very, very strong. I think 2 rate cuts. I thought, they may try and get 2 in before the end of the year, like just after the election. But yeah, they may do one in September too.
CTO, any thoughts on rate cuts?
Yes, if I can show the chart. So the yields have already broken down. This is the US government 2-year yield. And this level here was very key. First, it was resistance, then it was support a bunch of times, then it hesitated, then it broke down. So, and that environment usually gives a boost upwards to speculative assets. So this yield breakdown translated into a boost up for stocks, usually translates into a boost up also for crypto. But this time, everything has gone up except crypto because of Germany, because of Mt. Gox, because of specific events like that. So I agree. I think that this environment which we are in now should be beneficial for crypto as well, as we see in the stocks now. And I think this will continue. Yeah. So this kind of, the market has kind of anticipated that there will come rate cuts, and that's why this chart is breaking down. So I think so, Jim. I think we'll get rate cuts and the boosts in speculative assets.
And as I always say, that chart shows you the bond market never lies. What the Fed says, don't believe. What the chart says, believe. Yeah. It's that simple. Exactly. And final topic, a lot of excitement in France last night. They're talking of 90% taxes. I know half of the group here is European. Any thoughts? Is that
true? 90%? Is this a true thing?
True thing. It's the proposal for the max rate for people earning over 400,000 euros.
That's beginner numbers. We had 103% at one point in Sweden.
Oh wow!
And the famous author of Pippi Longstocking and things like that, she wrote a whole book about it where she satirized the government because her own tax was 103%. So come on, France, 90%, rookie numbers. You can do it.
Rookie numbers, 90% taxes.
This is interesting because the UK obviously just elected Labour, which is more left-leaning, and then you've had France, which is now, they haven't actually got the required number of votes, just to be clear. They've got the most number of seats in the House, but it's not an overall majority, so it'll have to be a coalition, or we could even head to another election. French stocks have actually risen on the back of this, which I thought was relatively interesting. I think this 90% figure is actually by one of the parties in the coalition rather than like the whole coalition's policy.
Far left, yeah.
But I do think, look, it's super interesting. It's super interesting to see, two major economies have veered left when it did feel like popular opinion around the world was veering more right. And I think a lot of people are looking, maybe you could have something similar in the US even. Like this increases the chance of a red herring sort of scenario, like a sudden veer towards the end. Prediction markets might not get it right if sentiment really, really shifts towards the end.
Well, Mando, I don't know if the term gerrymandering works in Europe, but the far right party got 190 million of the votes, but they only got a fraction of the seats. So I don't understand how French politics work, but it looks like they're doing the gerrymandering thing, kind of like what they do in the US.
Electoral college part.
Yeah. So it is, people were expecting the far right to win in a landslide. They did on a voting basis, but when you put three other coalition parties together and you gerrymander the seats, it's a different ball game, and that's what's fascinating right now. So anyway, either way, riots happen in France. Whatever, if we win or lose,
French Revolution.
Exactly. Well, great show, you guys. I'm very grateful. We covered a lot of content. I want to thank Marty. Before we get to closing thoughts, Marty, thank you for joining us for the first time.
Yeah, that was people don't realize we just did that last moment, literally 5 minutes before the show. It's so cool. I'd love to do it again. I really enjoyed this format.
I promised you on it. But don't forget, everybody, follow these gentlemen. Links are below. Marty Party, watch us, and Mando, engage on Twitter. It's hilarious. CTO as well. Thank you for all you do. Any final thoughts, you guys? Tesla is completely breaking out. It's up to $258. Bitcoin is 56 again. So it's gone positive for the day after wicking down to, what did it hit earlier, 54 and change, 54.5. Any final thoughts? Mando, you normally, at the end of every Monday show, you give a forecast for the week, but you might be more guarded this time.
I think it's been a frustrating couple of weeks, let's be honest, at least the last 3 weeks with stocks hitting all-time highs. I do think, I'll go back to what I said before. I spent a whole of my trading career looking for exact trades like this, where the fundamentals look good and you have this sort of technical sell pressure. I'm just going to go with that in where I think the risk reward of this trade looks.
And translating that to the audience, this is the buy zone.
Look, I've been saying it the whole way, but that's because the fundamentals have looked stronger, and then we haven't known what the technicals are until recently, when we started to see, we obviously had these pockets of supply. Now we know them; they're a known quantity, and we're starting to get through them. German government got through a decent clip already today. As we approach the end of that supply pocket, I think it could be a very, very good scenario.
And that was a money point. When we get to half of their bags, they're a third the way through right now, another 15% more, and then sell pressure should ease. And they're now under a lot of political pressure. I was tweeting back and forth with one of the Saxony MPs in Germany, in German, and she's really trying to exert pressure on the German government to hold this bag. Watch some of the sentiment out of the US. CTO, any final thoughts for the week, my friend?
I loved having Marty on board today. And one thing that is very useful for me is that if you have multiple people coming at the same question from different perspectives, from different angles, one look at it from this side, another look at it from that side, you have different models, different perspectives. And then if you come to the same conclusion, that's a very strong signal for me.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree. I think that we do have different models here. That's what makes it valuable. If we look at it with the same lens, there's no value in it, but we actually have different perspective. And I reflected on that today. I think it's really valuable. And I loved today's show. For me,
that's true. Different backgrounds, different experience, different points of view. And when we were all confluent on the same things, that's a very positive sign for the audience. Marty, final thoughts from you, buddy? Apart from
if you're a crypto investor or a crypto lover, I think this is it, guys. This is our jubilee. We've got the attention of smart money, of institutions, of the regulators. They want in, and they're not playing top dollar. Trust me. When the big money wants in, they bring the price down. It's very easy with a market maker, and they accumulate low. And you're watching it on the Wyckoff right now. We've just reached that area. They're done accumulating. And that means they're going to resell it. Who they're going to resell it to? Others who pay more. And so we'll go up. I think they'll buy at 50 and sell at 100, 120 maybe. Then they'll bring it back down to 80. We'll buy it up again. They'll sell it again at 150. And that's the way markets work. And there we are. Just this is our time. Blessed
Marty,
to be here. Thank you so much.
I've had a theory regarding the market makers on Bitcoin and why BlackRock is in the game. Often they do $1 billion in dollar volume every day, and no addition or deletion from their ETF. Is that suspicious or what?
I mean, from reading the S1s in the very beginning, I mean, I read the S1 back to back. That's why I have no wife anymore. Literally, I'm the most boring guy. I read the S1s. I read every legal court listener document. And those S1s from the beginning were set up to create a level of electoral college in the ETF, a level of the ability to manipulate, within some guidelines, but still manipulate. And I think they're turning that on. And we know they all carry trading, which means they're shorting on the futures market, buying the dips and buying on the spot market, and thereby balancing and capturing the spread, making that money. And they're doing it. They're using retail. They use market makers, which is basically narrative-based, which you're propagating, people. You're making FUD. Nothing has changed on the blockchain. The blockchain is as healthy as ever, all of them. It's all the scumminess is sitting at the dollar fiat exchange level, all of these regulatory levels. Trust me, the hygiene is coming, crypto's day is coming, and everyone's lives will get better. I'm Marty Party. I'm a big crypto bull.
Great way to finish. Thank you, gentlemen. We had a good show. And have a great week, everybody. Keep your seatbelts on. And
thanks for having me.
I mean, I might actually write a Substack on this video because there's so many nuggets that I pulled from all of you. Some little secrets that I didn't even think about before about how you think, and I might do that. I've got at least 10 of them in my head. So thank you all, and appreciate you all being here. And thank you to everybody in the audience and the moderators in the chat and everybody else's channel. Good to see you all. We have 8,237 people watching live. That's a new record. Let's go, team.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
I've been watching you a while. Your content is just amazing. Like you really nailed it from the beginning to the end. So I'm really proud of you. Amanda, nice to meet you. Love what you're saying. CTO Larson, I'd love to do it again with you. I think we make a good pair. And let's do it again, guys. And thanks to SteamYard. Come on the space. Tell us about this technology. This is a great tool. Very impressive.
Yeah, easy to use. Thank you, everybody. We're going to sign off. See you from all over the world. Bye.